What's up, guys? Welcome back to Seeing Red MMA podcast here. This is episode, I believe, 14 here now. Just watched Marlon Vera versus Corey Sandhagen in the main event here in San Antonio. Let's dive right into it while it's still fresh. Corey Sandhagen pretty much, I would say, dominates Chito Vera throughout the entire fight. He was better on the feet, he was better on the ground, kept Chito confused, and prevented him from really getting off any of the offense that we usually see from a fight in Marlon Vera's career. Let me just fix my mic real quick. But yeah, in this case here, Sandhagen pretty much won every single round. I don't know where they got the idea for a split decision. I think that judge needs to go back to a judging school, if that's such a thing, because that was clearly just all Corey Sandhagen there. He won every single second of this fight. 187 total strikes for Corey compared to 73 for Chito. Corey had 3 takedowns, Chito 0. Chito did have 1 submission attempt with the guillotine. I believe that was in the 3rd round there. Obviously didn't get it since it went to the decision. Significant strikes, 128 significant strikes for Corey to Chito Vera's 58. So those odds alone, definitely, just looking at those numbers, you'd be, unanimous decision for Corey. But somehow one of the judges gave it to Chito, which I don't know how. You can't win the last 15 seconds of a round and expect to be declared the winner of that round. We all know that Chito is predominantly a slow starter there, so it kind of didn't work in his favor, and I think Corey came in with the perfect game plan for a guy like Chito. Take him down in the first couple rounds pretty easily there, wear on him, grind on him, get him thinking about those takedowns, and then on the feet, just kind of confuse him with your footwork, your jabs, your combos going to the body, and just being able to switch stance while throwing combination. I think that was the reason why Corey Sandhagen did so well, is he really did his homework on Chito there. And yeah, I mean, definitely makes sense that he won. I mean, if you watched the last episode, you had me rooting for Corey just because I thought he was the better striker, and I thought he just was more technical and was going to confuse Chito in this way. So definitely happy that he won there, and I got my prediction right. It was kind of weird, though. He did call out Merab, and thank God he warned us before he used his call out there. He said, it's kind of cringy. He said, Merab, if you're hungry, I got something you can eat, but it doesn't taste good. Yeah, I mean, he's always said he's not good on the microphone. He's not a talker, which, I mean, it's not your thing. We get it. But, I mean, it's a good fight for at least a solidified number 1 contender. Corey versus Merab. Winner of that gets the winner versus Aljo versus Cejudo. So I do like that fight a lot. I do see Merab kind of winning that fight just because I feel like he can put on a hell of a pace and kind of grind on Corey and nullify a lot of the striking that confuses a lot of the guys who fight Corey. But, yeah, I mean, it's a fight I would watch there. I mean, it's probably one of the only Merab fights I really want to watch. But, yeah, Corey Sandhagen pretty much, I would say, dominates Chito and just kind of confuses them the whole time. Lands more, was just more prolific on the ground and on the feet. Good win for for Corey. So, congrats to him. Now, this is where it does get weird, though, because I did happen to fall asleep during the Landwehr fight. So, I got the first round of the Landwehr fight, fell asleep, and woke up as Chito and Corey were like 30 seconds into the first round, so I didn't miss much of the Corey fight, but completely slept through the Holly Holm versus Yana Santos fight. But from what I'm seeing on these cards here, unanimous decision for Holly Holm, so good for her. Looks like what I'm seeing, Holly threw 105 strikes, Yana 120, but Holly had 4 takedowns, and Yana had 0. Also significant strikes, 32-21, so at least even though Holly threw less strikes, more of them were significant there. From what I saw on Twitter, just because, I mean, I don't want to talk like I know what I'm talking about in this fight since I completely dropped the ball and fell asleep during it, but let me just check this one thing here because I saw this stat, and if it's true, that's insane. And will it show me? No, it's not going to show me. But apparently Holly Holm had like 7 minutes of control time on the actual ground there, which surprising coming from a Holly Holm style of fighting. We're known for her being a kickboxer, but with her older in age there, she's starting to fight a little bit smarter as well too. And at least get the win. We might not be seeing her head kicking ladies in the cage much anymore, so she's going to try and grind out the win however she can, which in this case looks like it was a kind of grind them out just on the ground there, but good for her. She's 41, just signed a new contract with the UFC, so expect to see, I would probably say like 2 Holly Holm fights a year for the next 3 years. That way she can reach her 6 fights contract deal, and then she'll probably retire. Unless she retires early and then just wants out of her contract, I could see her doing that as well too. But yeah, I mean, for a fighter that's of her age, that's still, I mean, it's not the deepest division. So, I mean, she's probably going to end up fighting either some up-and-coming girls that are probably going to put it to her because they've been watching her on their come-up, and now they're like, oh, yeah, now we've been watching a bunch of tape on you. We know how to beat Holly Holm, or she's going to start fighting some of the ladies from her generation there, and then we're going to get fights like apparently we got today. But obviously, again, just want to make sure this is known. I did not watch the Holly Holm fight because I was passed out on my couch. Fight before that, Nate Landwehr. I didn't see the finish to this fight, but Nate Landwehr does win by submission in the second round, 4 minutes and 11 seconds in. But even looking at it here, Nate did outstrike him 68-50, 1 takedown, submission attempt. That must have been the one assist submission attempt that he got in the second round, and landed 64 significant strikes. So that's kind of crazy, though. So you threw 68 total strikes, 64 of them were significant against Austin Lingo there. So another dub for the the Landwehr train. So let's keep that ball rolling. We all like Nate Landwehr. I apologize. I fell asleep during your fight. Just work today. Extremely tired. Just happened to fall asleep. Surprisingly, this fight was actually better than I thought it was going to be. Macy Barber versus Andrea Lee. Now, I did watch this fight entirely. Macy Barber wins a split decision against Andrea Lee there. It was kind of a real back and forth, kind of grind 'em out fight there. I mean, it was pretty high paced, pretty exciting. Macy did land 66 strikes compared to Andrea Lee's 57. 2 takedowns for Macy Barber, 5 takedowns for Andrea Lee. 1 reversal for Macy Barber, and significant strikes 48-39 in favor of Macy Barber there. So pretty back and forth fight from what I remember watching. I know that Macy did have Andrea in kind of a weird position where Andrea was inside control, but Macy was able to get her legs around the back of Andrea and kind of lock her arm down. And because of the glove and how tight she had to squeeze on her legs, Andrea's arm was kind of pinned back for a second, and Macy was just landing elbows to the side of the face there, scoring points off of her back. So that probably ruled in favor of the judges there, because you don't really see kind of positions like that, and especially someone taking advantage of it like she did and getting the win. But good fight there. Surprisingly, it was actually a good fight. Like you said, I knew that decision was going to be going to Macy Barber and Andrea Lee. That was going to go the distance. Same with Holly Holm. So if you put that on your parlay, you're welcome. I actually did not do bad on my picks this time, except for this fight. This fight killed my parlay immediately. Chidi Njokuani versus Albert Duraev. Duraev, split decision. And it was actually not just holding him down and grinding him out the entire fight there. He actually outstruck Chidi. 68 strikes for Duraev versus 44 for Njokuani. Duraev 2 takedowns, none for Chidi, and pretty much the significant strikes were close to even. 40 for Chidi, 45 for Duraev. So based off the numbers alone, yeah, 2 takedowns, you got about, what is that, 24 more total strikes and 5 more significant strikes. So just the numbers alone, it was somewhat of a close fight, especially towards the third round there, at the end of the third, when they were Chidi was finally starting to let the hands go a little bit. His coaches were yelling at him the whole time to kind of get going, and every time he did hit him with something big, it definitely had some power behind it, because Duraev was getting, not necessarily rocked, but he was feeling it. He was getting pushed all the way over. He got hit with the big body kick that basically almost knocked him over, which is pretty insane to have that kind of power where not only does it not hurt somebody, but it's strong enough to actually knock them off their out of their stance there. It's pretty strong kicks by Njokuani. So we haven't seen the last of Chidi. He'll definitely be back. I think they're going to be more favorable with his next fight there, because he's a knockout artist, and UFC desperately needs knockout artists right now, so they want to keep him around, especially with his resume in the UFC so far. TKOing Balyut, Todorovic, going to war with Rodriguez, and then this just wasn't a good style matchup for him. I did have him winning the fight by TKO or KO, but Duraev is a lot tougher and a lot better of a fighter than I thought, so props to him. And to open up your main card, which actually got bumped up, Daniel Pineda versus Tucker Lutz. Daniel Pineda, keeps his 100% finishing rate intact, getting the guillotine submission in the second round, while actually getting some pretty good results on the feet as well, too. He was able to knock down Tucker Lutz pretty frequently there, hit him with some good counter shots, left hooks, overhands, getting the better of Tucker Lutz there, but this just popped in my head there. I noticed Tucker Lutz's body type. It's a little strange if you watch it there. He's got really long legs, but a really short torso. Like he's like compact up top and then super long at the bottom. My girlfriend, when we were watching it, showed me a picture from Family Guy of when Peter said, I forget exactly what he said, but all legs go all the way up. If you go ahead and Google that meme, that's what Tucker Lutz is built like, just legs go all the way up, Family Guy. But good for Daniel Pineda there. I know he was coming off that no contest against Andre Fili with the eye poke, stopping the fight there. So good to see him back in the win column and keeping that 100% finishing rate intact. And then the end of the let me state this. So the fight that was supposed to be on the main card that got canceled last minute, Manel Kape versus Alex Perez, was canceled right after Steven Peterson fought there. So it wasn't like the morning of the card or anything like that. It was like maybe like an hour before Perez was supposed to be in the cage. He pulled out of the fight with the undisclosed injury there or some kind of illness. We don't exactly know just yet. We might find out during the post show that's going on right now. I just decided to hop on the recording first and get this out there. But man, Alex Perez has some of the worst luck in the UFC. His last fight since fighting Figgy was Pantoja, and Pantoja buzzsawed him in like under 2 minutes. So hasn't had any good luck as of recent there. I know Manel Kape, they had some bad blood going in at the weigh-ins. Manel Kape was accusing Alex Perez of having spies in his camp there. So I was really interested to see how that fight played out and to see what was really going to happen there, because I liked Alex Perez when he came into the UFC there. He just has not had the best of luck, man. He's had cancel fight after canceled fight. His last decent win was a leg kick TKO over Jussier Formiga. So really want to see Alex Perez get healthy and get back on the horse and get back in that flyweight division, because now with Brandon Moreno winning the belt and Figgy confirming that he's moving up to bantamweight, that division's kind of wide open. Obviously we're probably going to get Pantoja versus Brandon Moreno 3, the third fight, so I also feel bad for Brandon Moreno. Has to keep rematching these guys. But now that he's the champion, everyone's gunning for him, which is something I feel like he's always wanted. So it'll be good to see Brandon Moreno kind of being the top guy at the division, because I've always thought he was better than Figgy, just stylistically. Just Figgy hits so hard, but we're not here to talk about them. Hopefully Alex Perez rests up, gets healthy, and we see him in the octagon soon. And hopefully they just rebook that same fight, because after the weigh-in, when they pushing and shoving each other, Manel Kape was accusing him of having spies in his training camp. I was interested to see how that fight played out. I did have Manel Kape winning that fight if it were to happen there. But to end the night on the prelim, Steven Peterson loses a unanimous decision to Lucas Alexander, which this Lucas Alexander guy, his UFC debut, took it on like a week's notice, something like that, got caught in a choke. Wasn't the best showing for Alexander there, but he really styled on Peterson. Like, he pieced him up pretty good throughout that entire fight. I know he was landing quite a bit of strikes here. Total amount of strikes that Peterson landed compared to Alexander is pretty significant. 27 strikes total for Peterson and 86 strikes total for Alexander. So definitely ran away with that fight there. And it sucks to see, but it's also good seeing a guy go out on his own terms, because Peterson, after the announcement that he lost, put his gloves down in the center of the cage and decided to call it a career, which he may have not been the best guy in the featherweight division. He may have not been the worst guy, kind of mid-tier there, but you always you always remember that Superman chest tattoo that he's got there. So when you saw that tattoo on the card and you knew he was fighting, you were like, oh, okay, cool. This is going to be a dogfight. This will be entertaining at the very least. And I know he was kind of calling to be an analyst on the desk. So hopefully we get to see more of him, just maybe at the actual desk alongside like Alan Jouban, Chiesa, Anthony Smith. I would like to see that personally there because I haven't really heard him talk much before, but even in his post-fight, after going hard, 3 hard rounds with Alexander, the guy can talk, and he knows what he's talking about as far as fights go. Like, he's very coherent, doesn't slur his speech or anything like that, so I feel like he would be a nice addition to have on the panel. Trevin Giles gets the unanimous decision over Preston Parsons there. It's a good win for Trevin Giles just because I know he needed that. Now it makes him 2-2, I believe, at welterweight. So good to see that he's kind of finding his own groove at the weight class that's pretty much beneficial to him because for a while he was fighting at middleweight and just fighting guys that were way too big. Like Dricus du Plessis knocked him out, even though he was kind of on his way to winning that fight. But yeah, if you look at the numbers here, 71 strikes for Giles compared to 62 for Parsons. 3 takedowns for Parsons, 3 submission attempts for Parsons, but then Giles also had 2 reversals, 55 significant strikes for Trevin Giles compared to 42 for Parsons there. So it's a good fight for him to have, but what I've been waiting to talk about here was this fight on the prelims. Now, if you're an absolute degenerate like I am and you watched all the prelims even while you were at work, this fight was crazy. CJ Vergara versus Daniel Lacerda. CJ Vergara is tough, man. He survives 2 wheel kicks in the first round and comes back in the second and starts to work the body of Lacerda. And if you watch that fight, like, he wasn't just wobbled on the feet after getting hit with those wheel kicks. He took his seat each time he got hit with those, and each time he got back up trying to survive, he was visibly hurt. Like, he definitely took a lot of damage from those wheel kicks there, but man, he was able to rally back. He had to do the chicken run a little bit there. Kind of ran in the circle trying to avoid the onslaught that Lacerda was putting on. But you could visibly see at the end of the first round, Lacerda kind of blew his wad there a little bit. Like, he was a little gassed. And it showed because going into the second round there, CJ was able to kind of start nailing him with the front kicks to the body there, which is a good move to go with. A guy like that who's kind of beating you on the feet, take away a little bit more of his gas tank, especially at the end of the first, where he had a hard first round and he was going the distance and pretty much emptying the gas tank pretty heavily. I thought that was a good win for him there. Ends up in a calf slicer and was able to kind of TKO him from that position. So in that calf slicer, if you know what a calf slicer is, the guy's taking your back, but he has your leg bent, your knee. It's kind of hard to explain. So pretend this is your leg, this is your thigh, and he's got basically his calf going across there, and he's pulling you down and squishing the back of your thigh to the back of your calf on his own leg. That's a calf slicer. In that position, Lacerda tried pulling that move off, but CJ was able to land some punches from that position, get out of there and use that position to his advantage and get the TKO win from on top. So very good fight for Vergara there. I'd like to see him against maybe a little bit higher ranked of an opponent at that division there because he definitely proved that he's durable. He's got that dog in him, so he can go a pretty hard fight. And this leaves us to our opening fight of the night, and what a weird one it was. The worst haircut in the UFC versus Victor Almentararo. If I said that right. If I did not, I apologize, Victor. But Vinicius Salvador loses a unanimous decision to Victor Altamirano. There we go. I said it right now. Altamirano. It was kind of a weird fight there. They both have kind of weird styles where Vinicius Salvador, he throws from the hip with a lot of his punches, but he hits really hard. Victor has more of a karate style where he ends his combinations with body kicks. And then what he was doing that was interesting is kind of throwing these kicks at the end of his combination and then going straight for like the single leg. Wasn't landing most of them there, but he was able to actually use it to kind of throw off Salvador's game. But one thing that kind of was frustrating is that Salvador was losing the fight, in my opinion, and tried to pull the Anderson Silva, where He turns his back to the opponent, walks to the cage, puts his back on the cage and says, "Come here." Tries doing that like he did against Stephan Bonner Silva did, but I mean, you got to win the fight if you're going to be taunting like that. Like, you're going to have to show up and show out if you're going to be doing stuff like that. But I saw a funny tweet that says that haircut is now 0-1 in the UFC, so it is considered the worst base for MMA. So kids, if you're watching this, and I know that you are, do not get that haircut. Not only because it's a horrible haircut and it was hilarious to watch, but you also lost. But Alimantaro, or I just said it right not too long ago, and now I'm saying it wrong again. Altamirano. There we go. I got it, kids. Altamirano. He's a good fighter. I mean, he's kind of strange with the way he strikes there. He kind of leaves his chin out there a little bit, but when he's evading strikes, he like almost squats and leans over. And like once he's in that position, whatever his way he's leaning over, kind of runs in that direction, circles and spins out and resets. So I don't think he maybe can hang with some of the better guys in that division. I think some of the guys that can set up traps in that kind of scenario, maybe land a kick when he's exiting the pocket or something like that, or might be able to get a takedown when he's basically squared up to somebody or kind of just sitting to the side and get that single leg. But regardless of that, 109 total strikes compared to Salvador's 83 total strikes. 3 takedowns for Victor versus the 1 that Salvador had. And then as far as significant strikes, 62-47 in favor of Victor as well too. So definitely won the fight there. It was a overall decent card. I mean, I can only say that because 2 of the fights, or I slept through 1.5 fights, Holly Holm and Kunitskaya and Landwehr versus Lingo. I wish I would have got to watch how Nate actually won. It just says submission right here, so I don't know exactly what kind of submission he landed, but regardless, still a big win for Nate. I believe he's now he's on a 3-fight win streak. Holly Holm debuting her, or I guess kind of delaying her retirement for as long as she can now. So good for her. I mean, if she wants to keep fighting, if she can keep making weight, and she can still go out there and beat some of these younger girls, all the power to her. Keep it going. Do it as long as you can. If you're having fun and you're not getting hurt out there and you're not getting injured while training and you're able to make weight and it's not affecting you outside your fighting life and your personal life or anything like that, go for it. All the power to you, homegirl. Andrea Lee versus Macy Barber. That makes it 4 straight wins for Macy Barber, all by decision. This one was probably one of the better fights out of that win streak that she's had as of recent. So I would say, especially with her getting that win over a tough fighter like Andrea Lee, expect her to get at least I would say like a 10 to like 7 ranked flyweight opponent. Maybe give her like a. Actually, let's see. Let's look at the ranking. Actually, whatever. You can do that in your own time. Make your own predictions. Not that crazy of a fight there. I just like to see her be tested against some of the upper echelon of that division because, I mean, she's a good fighter, but she does tend to talk up her skills, which, I mean, you got to be confident if you want to be a fighter there, so no disrespect to her. But I'd like to see her get tested a little bit more against some of the higher-end fighters. Maybe give her like a – this is just rude of me. Give her Jessica Andrade and see how she does against Jessica Andrade, which I don't wish that upon any of the female fighters. Jessica Andrade, every time I see her on a card, I'm like, well, hopefully you can get her down because that's what Blanchfield was able to do. But if you can't get her down and you got to stand with Andrade, good luck to you. Hopefully you got good medical insurance, and I hope the UFC's paying for it because you are going to be in a world of pain because that is a little tank. Daniel Pineda getting the win. Chidi Njokuani losing a split decision to Duraev. That's pretty much it for your night. But I think the main thing to look at in this card here, guys, is Corey Sandhagen. He is that guy. It kind of confused me how Marlon Vera was number 3 after coming off a win over a washed Dominic Cruz in a fight I kind of thought he may have been losing just because Dominic was landing more strikes than Cheeto was, but Cheeto also had like 3 knockdowns, including that head kick KO. Corey's just that guy, man. He is so slick. He's so smooth. He knows how to enter the pocket without getting hit, exit the pocket while keeping in the... He's like 10 steps ahead of you. He knows if he's going to throw a jab and he does like this weird thing from the orthodox stance where he fakes a jab and turns it into a liver shot, and then posts with his front hand. So he's using his front hand alone in that sequence 3 times before he even uses the other one. Posts, straight right hand, uses that to switch stance, and then kind of pumps the straight right hand in the southpaw stance as a jab, circles out from there, kind of resets and does it all over again. And he did a very good job mixing in the takedowns there. But overall, very good fight out of those ranked bantamweights there. I was very surprised of the decision, the split. I thought that was clearly going to be a unanimous decision for Corey Sandhagen, but who am I? I'm not a judge. I'm just a guy in his apartment who loves MMA, so my opinion holds no merit, but I feel like my opinion is the same opinion as many others. But yeah, next week, there's not going to be any fights on the 1st of April, so I probably will take next week off. Unfortunately, maybe I might do something here. Maybe I might just go over some, like, I don't know, I might think of something here. Maybe just put out a video just to make sure I'm not lost in the algorithm or something like that. But your next big card is Pajeda versus Adesanya 2. That is April 8th in Miami, Florida. I cannot wait for that fight, so make sure to tune in if I end up doing videos next week as well too. Maybe just one, because I usually do 2 a week. Friday before the fight, Saturday right after the fight. Probably just do one that week there and just throw it out there into the ether for all my fans to see. And if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at SeeingRedMMA. Other than that, thanks for watching, guys, and have yourself a great rest of your day. See ya.